Rama 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 Bhagwan Shri Yogi Ramsuratkumar ki jai. Sarvam Yogi Ramsuratkumar Arpanastu. முதல்லையே நிறுத்திட்டேன். ஸோ எனக்கு ரிதம் இங்கும் வாழ மாட்டேன். இந்த மாலை பொழுதில் this is to be an English session. So this evening we got this chance to chant, sing Bhagwan's Nama in his powerful shrine, no matter what difficulties we have to face. We were still able to manage all because of his grace. I'm very grateful to Bhagwan for somehow pulling me through this. We have been going through Leelas after Leelas, day after day after day. And we have relived the experiences of others, enjoying and at the same time learning. As I often said, at least one Leela a day will definitely keep the Maya away. Now today we shall see something very significant. How it happened and what the devotee learned. And with him we shall also learn. Many devotees of Bhagwan, they know Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan from Shivakasi. Though he is no more, he had given some vivid descriptions of his experiences when he had come to the ashram. When he spoke, he said he was right from childhood, he was drawn to the spiritual life, and he was introduced to the Prasthanatrayam, Brahma Sutras, Upanishads, and Bhagavad Gita. He studied a lot of Vedanta out of interest, of his own accord. And then he said he was also going after Shri Kanchi Paramacharya. Wherever he went, he tried to follow him as much as possible. It was only in 1975 he came to know about Yogi Ramsuratkumar Bhagwan through his sisters who were coming often. And the day he wanted to have the first darshan of Bhagwan, he started at 3 o'clock early morning from Chennai by car. He came straight to the vessel shops, looked for him, could not find him, and somebody said he could search for him near Punnaitri, near the railway station. So he drove down to Punnaitri, a little away from there, and he saw Yogi Ramsuratkumar walking so fast. Immediately he got down and ran after him. It was difficult to keep up, but he managed. He came to the front of Bhagwan, fell down at his feet and held on, held the feet tight. Bhagwan, with his both hands, lifted him up and looked straight in the eye and said, "What do you see here? Why did you come? What did you see here?" By then, Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan was completely overwhelmed by the powerful presence of Bhagwan. He said spontaneously, "Swami, I see Ramakrishna Paramahamsa in you." Then Bhagwan laughed, his thunderous laughter, and then took him by hand to the tree. When they were seated there, Bhagwan asked him, "Have you brought anything for this beggar?" So much in the fashion of Lord Krishna, who asked Shri Kuchela, Sudama. Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan hesitated because he had not brought anything for Bhagwan, and there was only some slices of bread with ghee spread on it, prepared by his sister, and he had already taken a bite on that. So he did not want to say, how could he? It was not meant as an offering to Bhagwan. But then Bhagwan himself asked him, "You have it in the car? Okay, go and bring it." He was very, very hesitant because it had already bitten into it. And now he carried it to Bhagwan, and Bhagwan almost snatched it from his hand. And what was more, he bit into that portion where he had already taken, where Gnanagiri Ganesan had already had a bite. Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan was stunned. How could he do that? But then Bhagwan smiled, and then after taking a bite, he gave it to Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan and encouraged him to take a bite from that. Of course, Gnanagiri Ganesan by then was completely bowled over. He took a bite, and then immediately Bhagwan snatched it away from him. And then he took a bite. So this was going on, and Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan could not believe that this was happening. But he knew that he had complete, total kripa, the grace of Bhagwan. completely overwhelmed. And then Bhagwan asked him what his program was. He kept him for some time with him. And just before he left him, Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan, whatever he brought, the money, everything, put at his feet. Bhagwan was saying, making fun. There was this Perumal Sadayan with him, and Bhagwan turned to him and said, "Oh, Gnanagiri Ganesha has given so much money to this beggar. You see, this beggar's debts are all over now. No more debts for this beggar. This beggar could pay back now." And then laughed in a certain fashion. And Gnanagiri Ganesan took leave of him. And then this was, after some time, he was so much drawn to Bhagwan. Now Bhagwan began to take root in him. And then the next time, he went to see Bhagwan again under the Punai tree. He was seated before Bhagwan. Then Bhagwan asked him, this time Gnanagiri Ganesan was so taken over by Bhagwan, he decided he would spend 15 days with Bhagwan. On the very first day, Bhagwan made him sit before him and asked him, "What do you want from this beggar?" Shri Gnanagiri Ganesan said, "Swami, I have been studying scriptures, been trying meditation also, but then this true meditation never happened. Very difficult to get this one-pointed concentration." Then Bhagwan said, "Okay, now you do it. Close your eyes and try and meditate." What a gift. Gnanagiri Ganesan closed his eyes, and very soon he was completely lost in meditation. And then now he got the vision of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa glowing in all brightness. He was shining. And then suddenly he heard a laughter deep within. Somebody was laughing so much. And then he opened his eyes and he saw Bhagwan seated in front of him, laughing and laughing. Then Bhagwan said, "Now you can chant." Bhagwan started to chant actually, "Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jaya Guru, Jaya Guru, Jaya Guru Raya." So Gnanagiri Ganesan picked up that and he also started chant. It was an indication that Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa appeared before him, and then slowly the vision changed into one of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Then Bhagwan told him, because you see when he came, Shri Gnanagiri Ganesan had already decided he wanted to spend 15 days with Bhagwan. It was for Bhagwan to decide such things, but then he was so drawn to Bhagwan, he decided he would come and stay for 15 days doing service to Bhagwan, which Bhagwan probably did not welcome. So he said, you come to this beggar only when this beggar calls you, and left him. In the meantime, before this happened, Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan says, because he had done a lot of spiritual literature, especially the scriptures, Brahma Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, he says that he had developed a certain ego over it. It happens to all the intellectuals. The intellectuals are not even aware they have developed an ego over their knowledge. And Bhagwan wanted to treat him for that. So he said, Gnanagiri Ganesha, this beggar would like you to read Tulhapyam. It's an ancient book written by a disciple of Rishi Agastya. So because Bhagavan said that, Gnanagiri Ganesan was not really interested. But then because it came from Bhagavan, he started to read that. And there was one professor, Asa Jnanasambandha, who was also visiting Bhagavan at that time. So he approached the professor to teach him Tulhapyam. But then, you see, he was not interested. Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan was not interested. He was doing it because Bhagavan asked him. So his mind, he could not put his mind to it. So he would only do it as a duty. He would just read out and then close the book and forget all about it. So this was going on for some time. And once when he visited Bhagavan, he used to call him Sami, meaning Swami. Bhagavan immediately, that this time, when he was only 100 feet from Bhagavan, Bhagavan stopped him and came running towards him, and his face was red with anger. Then Bhagavan said, oh, people call this beggar Swami, Swami, but then they don't listen to this beggar. They don't do what this beggar wants them to do. They don't do what this beggar tells them to do. So he kept on repeating it, and then Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan knew that he was referring to his reading of this Tulhapyam, because he was doing it without any real interest. So now he learnt his lesson. So he started to pay more interest, more attention to that. And he also learnt the meaning of the lines in the scriptures. And once he went with Professor Asa Jnanasambandha to have darshan of Bhagavan. Now this time Bhagavan welcomed both of them. After they were seated, Bhagavan asked, what is in Tulhapyam? You are reading Tulhapyam. Now it's a literary work by a rishi, a disciple of Agastya. So Bhagavan asked him, what is it? What is in this book? Then the professor, Jnanasambandhan, said, it deals with both the temporal and the spiritual aspects of life. Then Bhagavan said, what is this spiritual meaning of this? Immediately, Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan spontaneously said, Yogi Ramsuratkumar, the spiritual meaning of the lines that he was reading Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan did not go into the exposition of those poems. Instead, he spontaneously said the meaning of the lines that I read. Only Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Bhagwan smiled and then he said, what about this temporal? The temporal aspect. Immediately, again, Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan said, the temporal meaning is again Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Bhagwan smiled and looked at the professor, Jnanasambandhan. Shri Jnanasambandhan said, Swami, he is right 50%, only 50%. Then Bhagwan smiled, a very meaningful smile, and said, this beggar would like to tell you a story. He said there was one Machendranath, a guru, who was traveling with his disciple Gorakhnath. This Machendranath was carrying a small box. And he was paying so much attention to it, and he was worried about the safety of it. When they came across the river, he wanted to have a bath. So he handed over the box to his disciple and said, keep it safe. Don't open it, and keep it safe. And then he began to have his bath. Now his disciple became very curious. He opened it. Gorakhnath opened it and saw a gold biscuit. He saw something, a piece of gold, glowing, shining forth. And then the disciple, Gorakhnath, thought, what is this? Gurunath is carrying this gold, the glittering gold. Why would he be attached to this? This will not do. And then he threw it into the river. Now the Guru came out of the water and asked for this golden piece, the golden, that is the box. Now Gorakhnath said, Swami, that was gold, and one should not be attached to the gold, so I threw it into the river. Now, you can imagine the anger of the Guru. He became ferocious. He took out a stick and started to beat his disciple. He beat him up so much, the disciple was unable to bear it at one point and he passed urine, then and there. And the surprise of surprises, wherever he passed urine, wherever the urine was moving, those surfaces became gold. Now it was the turn of his Guru to be surprised. He realized immediately, the Guru realized that the disciple was in a very high state. After Bhagwan narrated his story, he added, sometimes the disciple is more knowledgeable than the Guru, and laughed. Of course, both Professor and Shri Gnanagiri Ganesan, they got the meaning, the way Bhagwan hinted at it. What did he hint at? It meant Shri Gnanagiri Ganesan, after he was reprimanded by Bhagwan, he began to pay serious attention to the scripture Tulapyam, and he understood, though he did not remember the lines properly, he understood it all spoke of Yogi Ramsuratkumar, the nature of a great Jnani, the great seer, has become one with the truth. And then he also felt everything that he saw was only Yogi Ramsuratkumar. So both inner meaning and the outer meaning turned out to be Yogi Ramsuratkumar for him, and that's why he said it spontaneously. So it showed his proper understanding of this book, the ancient book. Whereas Professor had studied the book, the same book he was teaching his disciple, but he did not realize the meaning of it. He knew the interpretation, the scholarly interpretation of those lines, but he did not have the inner experience of those lines. And that's why Bhagwan pointed out, Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan caught the essence of this book. He understood it's all about the great master, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. So appreciated by Sri Yogiji, Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan became very happy. After that, he began to see Yogi Ramsuratkumar in everything. The stone, the tree, the animal. He understood the meaning of it all. So much so, he reached a state of mind when he thought this worldly life was putting a block in his spiritual progress. So he decided to leave home and stay with Bhagwan permanently. And that is how he came to Bhagwan with the idea of staying with Bhagwan for 15 days, but then it was not for him to choose. It's for the master to decide. And that is when Bhagwan made him sit in meditation. And then he saw Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, and finally he turned into Yogi Ramsuratkumar and his laughter. Now this was another deep experience for Gnanagiri Ganesan. And when Bhagwan left him, he submitted everything that he had at his feet symbolically, meaning, I'm surrendering to you. You can do with me what you like. And you know what Bhagwan did? He saw the money, everything that Gnanagiri Ganesan submitted at his feet, and then he made fun saying, oh, he has given me so much money. Now this beggar can pay back all the debts. This beggar will have no more debts. He started to dance. And then he said to Gnanagiri Ganesan, you should not come here until this beggar calls you. You can imagine the shock that he went through, but there was no choice for him, so Gnanagiri Ganesan returned. And month after month passed. For 8 months, he could not come to Yogi Ramsuratkumar at all. He felt the pang of separation and suffered. At the time, once he went to Sri Kiva Jagannathan, a punster, very famous, very reputed punster in Tamil language. So he went to have the darshan of Kanchi Paramacharya, because Bhagwan had told him not to come without his calling. So when these two people went to Paramacharya, after everybody left, Shri Paramacharya asked them to be seated. And then, strangely, Shri Paramacharya began to make gestures very much in the fashion of Yogi Ramsuratkumar. Every move of his was so much like Bhagwan. The way he looked at them was so much like Bhagwan, Yogi Ramsuratkumar. So you see, this was very strange, but then Gnanagiri Ganesan understood the inner meaning of what Kanchi Paramacharya was trying to say by his gestures, that there was no difference at all between Yogi Ramsuratkumar and Kanchi Paramacharya. It is true because something very similar happened to me also once when I had gone for darshan of Kanchi Paramacharya, because I was asked to have darshan by Bhagwan. So I went there with another friend. But I was going there rather reluctantly. I was thinking I had met Bhagwan Yogi Ramsuratkumar, who has become everything for me. What was the need for visiting another saint? Yet it was Bhagwan who told me to go, so I did. So even while approaching Kanchi Paramacharya, I was thinking, what is the necessity? Why would he send me to him? Maybe I lack enough devotion. I must be lacking something for him to send me to the saint. Though I held Paramacharya in high esteem because of my association with Bhagwan already, I felt there was no need. But you see, we were in for a surprise. After we went there, like he said, everybody had left and we were the only two, myself and my friend. Kanchi Paramacharya came out, and a little distance away he was standing there. Then he started to walk up and down, very much in the style of Bhagwan. And then he made gestures with hands, very familiar to me because Bhagwan used to make them. And what was more, Bhagwan used to give sharp glances because he knew the thoughts in us. And he would now and then give very swiftly sharp glances, which Paramacharya was doing now. Again, he gave me to understand that there was no difference at all, that I need not think that he is different from my master. It is my own master in a different form. This is what Kanchi Paramacharya taught me that day by his gestures. Something similar has happened to Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan. Because he was thirsting for darshan of Bhagwan, now by the contact of Kanchi Paramacharya, it was a little appeased, his pangs of separation from him. And then after that he could no more bear the separation, so he decided, okay, what if Yogiji does not call me? If I can't go to him, then I should do severe penance and become Yogi Ramsuratkumar, and then there would be no sense of separation at all. He decided to leave home, go to the Himalayas and do his tapas. But then he thought, okay, before I leave this place, I could take blessings from Bhagwan. Surely he could not say anything, he could not object to this. So with that hope, when he approached Bhagwan, it was then that Bhagwan kept him at a distance, and when he prostrated Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan, from his place, Bhagwan was ferocious. There was the countenance of anger. What was more, he came running towards Gnanagiri Ganesan and then said, there are already many lazy beggars like this, pointing to himself. There are already many lazy beggars here. There is no need for one more. You can go. You go home and come back with your wife. That was the command. Bhagwan was so angry, and he showed it visibly that Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan was trembling, and he left immediately, went home and brought his wife. When they came together to Bhagwan, Bhagwan garlanded both of them and began to sing Gnanagiri Ganesa Bhanumati Sameda, meaning Gnanagiri Ganesha is with Bhanumati. So this he kept on repeating and made them also sing that. Concluding the chapter of Gnanagiri Ganesha becoming a sannyasi, Bhagwan concluded this chapter so that he would never again raise this topic of going away from home to some place in the Himalayas. Once when he had come to Bhagwan, he had a doubt. He had already started to chant Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru Raya. But then he had a doubt. He was already initiated by Sri Vireshwarananda of Ramakrishna Math. So here he was thinking, I have already been initiated into a mantra, Ramakrishna mantra, but then now I am chanting Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru Raya. Is that okay? Is it all right? Or what else to do? So he had a genuine doubt, which most of us have. Then, at that time, the house had come, and Bhagwan was already living in the Sannadhi Street house. So Bhagwan kept him with himself the whole night, and the next day, early morning, Bhagwan started singing Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru Raya, and asked Gnanagiri Ganesha to repeat after him. And so Yogi Ramsuratkumar Bhagwan was leading the mantra, and Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan was singing it after him, not for 1 hour or 2 hours, but till the evening for nearly 12 hours. Both of them had been singing this Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru Raya. Then Shri.Gnanagiri Ganesan understood that Bhagwan wanted him to sing this because he was so much already drawn to Bhagwan, and he felt deeply the pangs of separation from him. So he was rooted in our Bhagwan already. Because of this doubt about the Nama, Bhagwan made him understand that his mantra now is Yogi Ramsuratkumar, Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru Raya. And then at the end of the session, when Bhagwan left him, Bhagwan declared something which is meant for all of us. He said, looking straight into the eyes of Gnanagiri Ganesan, in the Guru's Nama, The Guru given mantra, every other mantra is contained. In the Guru Nama, every other Nama mantra is contained. There is no need to doubt. So you see, the whole thing reveals some rare teachings of Bhagwan, rare glimpses of Bhagwan. I was absolutely thrilled when I read his description, certain places. So now it is meant for all, those of us who have had initiation from other gurus, but now drawn completely to Bhagwan Yogi Ramsuratkumar. We do not have to doubt. There's a beautiful story about Bhagwan Ramana, a disciple who was already initiated, had come to Ramana Bhagwan, completely drawn by him. But after coming to Bhagwan, he had a doubt. So he asked Bhagwan Ramana, you see, I was already initiated by a guru. Now is it okay if I come after you? Then Bhagwan Ramana kept quiet, and then slowly he said, which country you are coming from? Where are you coming from? Then the foreigner mentioned the country from which he had come. Then Bhagwan Ramana asked him, from there, how did you come to India? He said, by aeroplane. Oh, so from the airport, from the airport of Delhi, how did you come to Chennai? He said, I took a train. Okay, you came to Chennai by train. From Chennai, how did you come to Thiruvanamalai? He said, I took a bus. Okay, after coming to the bus stand of Thiruvanamalai, how did you reach Ramanashram? He said, there was a cycle rickshaw. Oh, after reaching Ramanashram entrance, how did you come to this room, to me? He said, by walk. Now you see, the whole journey, look at it. You started by plane, and from the airport, you did not come by plane, you took a train. And then you did not take a train, you took a bus from Chennai to Thiruvanamalai. But all the time, you were moving towards Ramanashram. So wherever you were, whatever vehicle suited you for your travel, you took that. It was arranged for you. The plane was arranged for you, and then the train, and then the bus, and then the cycle rickshaw, and finally by walk. It's one whole journey. You could not have continued, you could not have made the whole journey by aeroplane itself. Wherever your travel was towards Ramanashram, and whatever was needed at different stages of the journey, that was provided to you by the Divine. Now you tell me, is there any contradiction in that you took a bus, and there you took a plane, and now you took a bus? What is objectionable about it? What a beautiful way of drawing one to the essence of spiritual journey. So, we understand from the two demonstrations of two great masters, the life's journey is towards its destination. All the time we journey through life to our final destination, that is God. And in our journey towards this destination, whatever happens at any moment of life, in whatever circumstances, it is the best that could happen to us, and it's being arranged by God. So all that we have to do is accept everything as progress, as part of the journey towards God. And there is no contradiction. Everything that happens is perfect. Everything is progress. I used to say, when you climb up a mountain, you have the peak in view all the time, and there may be up slopes and down slopes. You may think that the up climb is progress and the down climb is not progress. But remember, the very structure of the mountain is such that the down slope is also taking you towards the peak. You're not missing out anything, there is no setback. So, let us be grateful to Bhagwan for teaching us this lesson, that whatever happens in life's journey is the best that can happen at that moment, and it's being arranged specially and specifically for us to give us a push towards our destination. And so every moment is perfect, every moment is progress. Now to this Bhagwan we shall submit today's prayers.